Welcome to 𝗂𝗵𝗄𝗃 with Planet Aid. And today we are so excited to be talking to David Dallas from Garson Shaw. And today we'll be talking a little bit about the process where the clothes go that are donated by our donors. So David, welcome to 𝗂𝗵𝗄𝗃. And
thanks a lot for having me.
How are you today?
Doing great. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. So David, tell us a little bit, first of all, just tell us a little bit about Garson Shaw before we get into it.
Sure. So Garson Shaw is a used clothing brokerage. We're headquartered in Atlanta, but we've got 3 other offices, one in Slovakia, one in Belize, and a new one actually opening up in a month or 2 maybe in Costa Rica. I've already put in for my transfer. I am not expecting it to be granted, so but you can always hope, right? But we ship about, as a collective company, as a unit, we ship about 700 container trailer loads of used clothing and shoes, toys, whatever, a month approximately. And yeah, we obviously a lot of Planet Aid is a huge part of that, and we're excited to work with it.
Once it's sorted, what are the options for the donated textiles?
Sure. The clothing gets resold into local markets. So there's a variety of different customers it could go to, mainly wholesalers. Those are guys that have, they might get a container of bales at the local port, and they'll have shops that their customers come up and buy a handful of bales at a time because they're too small to kind of take a full container load, right? So for Planet Aid's locations, they might buy 2 bales from Cleveland, 2 from Baltimore, and 2 from Boston. Take that back to their shop downtown, break open the bales, hope they got a good bale, and which they usually do, and they sell that in the local markets. Another big type of customer is a grader, and they just get sent full trailer loads or container loads of bales. They break them open, they sort them into various qualities. So, men's, women's, children's, different sizes, gets very granular. And they make different packs and mixes for different markets that can sustain the various types of quality. Finally, the last one would be stores and retail shops. So that'd be, there's stores abroad, that would be equivalent to like a Ross or a thrift store here in the United States. And the bales go in there, they open them in the back of the store, they hang them on the racks, and they sell the products in that way. That accounts for the used clothing portion of it. Now, what can't be sold, there's other, these guys are trying to make, use everything they can. They want no waste. That's the only way they really lose. So if they can recycle things into fibers or connect with companies that do, or turn a dirty towel into a wiping cloth, something like that. They're trying to find ways to reclaim and recycle these things any which way they can.
So tell me actually, what is the difference between clothing being recycled and being reused?
Sure. Okay. So being reused would mean that it ends up on another human being. If it's recycled, that means they're trying to reclaim it somehow. So it's maybe in not good enough shape for somebody to wear, but hey, maybe it can be a terry towel or carpet insulation or car insulation, some kind of padding, something like that. These guys do everything they can. It's worth noting that I think when in any given load, there's about 45% of it is usable clothing, another 30% is wiping cloth, and 20% can be used for fiber conversion. So that leaves, 95% of this stuff can be reclaimed, meaning only 5% of it is just genuine waste. So when the folks out there are donating, it's really important to know that, don't go to the landfill that's the last option possible. There's a 95% chance we can reclaim this stuff, put it to good use, and keep it out of landfills, and that helps fight greenhouse gases and those types of things.
And that's a question that a lot of people give to us all the time.
Sure.
It doesn't matter if the jeans have a hole in it or because and even if it can't be reused, it can be recycled.
Exactly. And to that we say challenge accepted. Anything folks want, ideally everything's Armani and G-Star and all those fine brands, right? It's all from Nordstrom's, but hey, you know what? We got to take it all. We want to recycle it all. We want to use what we can and recycle what we can.
So who, and I think we've already kind of answered this, but who exactly is the market for recycled clothing and who is the market for reusable clothing? Sure.
So the clothing can go anywhere in the world. So there's different economies can afford different types. So it's in high demand everywhere. Like some could go to a thrift store or a vintage store in Europe. It could be made into a insulation by a car manufacturer. There's all different types of economies that for the reworn or reused clothing.
Why do you think the demand is so high for these?
Well, I think about 70% of the world's population wears some kind of secondhand clothing, you know? So obviously right then and there, you see that the appetite for it. Because the reality is like not, you know, folks, again, there's different economies and not everyone can afford to go to the mall and just buy a brand new pair of jeans. That being said, you know, it ends up in our secondhand stream, which can find its way to them in these foreign markets, and they can get a great pair of jeans, a great shirt, look great, and enjoy that side of fashion. You know, I'd say like having traveled to a lot of these markets, these guys, you know, these folks dress better than me and half of my friends do. You know, and that all comes from our bins. You know, from Planet A bins.
Wow, very good.
Yeah.
And my last question to you is: sustainability a trend that will continue for textiles? Why or why not?
Absolutely. It's an essential component, first of all, in the fight against global warming. I mean, if you just look at fast fashion in general, I believe I think 10% of greenhouse gas emission comes from just new garments that are being made. So folks like Planet A, folks like, you know, like that are wildly important for capturing the clothes as it's being pumped into our own fashion economy, let's call it. Secondly, it's an important part of of creating a circular economy. And what that means is a goal to create zero waste. So it's a little bit down the road, but there's a lot of incredibly intelligent people working on this. That means making fibers that can be made into a shirt that will ultimately be able to, at the very, very end of its life cycle, be able to be broken down into different, you know, 100% sustainable fibers. And finally, you know, there's just, you know, despite all that, there's still a lot of work to do. I mean, the EPA estimates that 85% of the clothing still ends up in landfills, so we can capture it all. So I tell all your listeners, like, run, don't walk to a Planet A bin. You know, get us as much clothing as we can. Let's fight climate change and do what we can.